Let's be honest. We were taught a lot about sex. We were taught how to avoid it, how to hide it, how to be ashamed of it, how to protect ourselves from it, how to satisfy somebody else. But very few of us were ever taught how to actually enjoy it. We learned that wanting pleasure made us selfish. Too much pleasure made us promiscuous. Talking about pleasure made us inappropriate. And somewhere through all the bullshit, lies, and avoidance, we stopped asking one very important question. What actually feels good to me? Today, we're unpacking the pleasure we were taught to fear. Because maybe pleasure isn't the problem. Maybe shame is. Let's get into it. Broadcast. It's your time. Step into the spotlight. Welcome back to the Badass Broadcast, where we keep it real, raw, and unapologetic as fuck. I am your host, favorite fire starter and nervous system regulator, the Queen Lady T. And today, the Pleasure Series continues with what I think is going to be one of our most eye-opening conversations yet. Joining me today is Amba Jai, an integrative somatic practitioner whose work explores shame, nervous system regulation, intimacy, embodiment, and helping other people discover that pleasure isn't something we earn. It's something our bodies naturally allow when they finally feel safe enough. Welcome to the Badass Broadcast, Amba.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm super stoked to have this conversation with you. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be a good one.
Yes. So tell us all about yourself and what brought you to this work.
I think what brought me is kind of what brings a lot of us, like our own personal journey. I was a little girl that had my safety stolen from me. Really, really fucking young. 5, 6 years old. And then, we go one of two ways in that world. Mm-hmm. We either curl up or we go wild with, with where we end up. And I just happen to be one of those Sagittarius rising personalities that's like, off to the races in everything that I've ever done. And it, my journey led me through all of this stuff that was so shame-based about pleasure, about my own body, about who it was to be, what it was to be a woman, what it was to be a woman that was sexually active freely, what it was to be, a liberated woman in my body, what it was to be, all these different labels that were given. And the journey home to me has really I never thought I would guide others or coach others or be a 25-year practitioner of this stuff. I just wanted safety for myself. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly it became safety for everyone. Nice. and when you taste it and find it, you suddenly realize everyone needs a space for this, right? And so somehow that just, corporate America just wasn't for me, clearly. I mean, I'm covered in tattoos, a 55-year-old woman with facial piercings and, dreadlocks down to my ass. And,
right.
I wasn't cut of that, sort of Midwestern cloth, if you will. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of brought me here, and everything has brought me to this place where that's my whole mission in life now, is particularly with women. How do we find safety in our bodies so that we really can soften into what it means to be a sensual being, right? Because that's what we are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And it's such a beautiful place to be, because I don't think it really hit until I hit 40, and it's like I looked back and I had left all my fucks in my 30s.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know, I just started becoming this whole new creature. It's like somewhere I crossed that line, and then I found that feminine that has been buried in me, and I'm like, oh, she wants out. And at the time I was married, and it had just been so, it was basically like a roommate situation for the last few years that I was just settling for, because I was like, it ain't hurting nobody, I'm good. But then after I crossed that 40 line, I was just like, this feminine wants more. Like, she wants to play, like she deserves more than this. And so I'm a hip hop artist, so I always mention in a lot of my songs like the beast is loose and she's out of control. Like, yeah, it's no going back in the cage now.
Oh, right. You hit that space where I feel like maybe the male gendered bodies with all the testosterone hit that about 16, 17, and we hit there about 35, 40. And it's like, you know, and all of a sudden there's no more. And if you have a space where you can safely experience and express it, then it becomes this really, really beautiful, journey of I mean, it can have so much, of unwrapping the shame, of unpacking it and demystifying it, because I became, because of my history, a promiscuous young woman, right? And it was I had my friends call, oh, I was the most sexually liberated. My first threesomes were in high school, so I was really liberated, but really it wasn't a liberation for me then. It was more, they're going to take it anyway. So let me just get a little fucked up and I'll just like make it a little easier on me and then just go along with the play, was where my mind was, because I hadn't done my healing yet. And where I was internally. But when you find, I'm gonna have my own somatic experience right now. When you find that spot deep in here, and I had a teacher, a tantric, my first initiation into non-dual tantra. With my first teacher looked at me and told me I was never a victim, and I first got mad, and then it got through that this isn't who I, capital I, which is also you. That's not who we are, right? When I started to not just understand here, but feel it in my flesh, that the capital I that resides in consciousness or deep, deep inside of us, that life just stacks the stories on top, that could never be touched by anything that happened to this sack of flesh. That was a big, like, shift for me, right? Because I went through the whole thing of, I must be the sacred prostitute, like all these men be coming and they date me for a while, we do this, they go off and have good things happen in their lives and then leave me behind. What's going on here? I'm the healer, and all of that cycle through to just the awareness that all we need is to feel safe, and that pleasure is really about experiencing everything, not just physical pleasure. Right? But if we don't realize that, then it's all tied up in some other story.
Right. Yes, that is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And speaking of pleasure, you mentioned that it wasn't something that we achieve, it's something that we allow. And I love that. I definitely agree. So let's talk about what that actually means.
Oh, yeah. So from a non-dual perspective, as a practicing non-dual tantrika, so I practice the classical tantra. I mean, I've played in the neo-tantra world as well, but classical tantra is really the spiritual belief that everything is divine consciousness or the goddess manifest into either subject or object, right? Differentiated subjects and objects. And it's a path of direct experience. So in the mind, we can think all the stories and all the things and have all the logic and reasoning, but until we move into direct experience, which in non-dual tantra happens through embodiment, right? So it's beautifully aligned with nervous system regulation and embodiment work, right? Because it's the path of awareness and waking up and body enlightenment in the body. Because the idea is, we're sensual beings. We experience life through our senses, our eyes, our ears, our taste, our skin, not our brain. So when you come into the place of being present with what is and allow the experience to happen and not the story to happen, you're settling in and allowing pleasure. Right? Because it's the story that gets in the way and takes the pleasure away from us. Right? And so that's kind of, as we settle into experiencing a little safety in our bodies, in our mind, bring the thoughts down into just the experience. And for some of us, that's as simple as just really practicing when we're spinning here. Oh, what am I experiencing in my body? Oh, what am I experiencing in my body? Oh, what am I experiencing?
Yeah. I find myself doing that a lot.
Keep bringing it down, right? Well, and that's the thing. That's the misconception. Like the practice is the return to the practice constantly. Whatever the practice is, whether you're doing Vipassana meditation or yoga, whatever, the practice is the return to it over and over again, because the ego mind's just constantly trying to do its job and keep us safe, right? And it just overworks, based on our lived experience. And so for me, settling in has been where I can really experience deep pleasure as a woman, especially physically, because what we don't realize and aren't taught about female anatomy and female pleasure is the more relaxed you are, the safer you feel, the more the yoni blooms and opens up to pleasure. And we're not just talking about friction-based sex or external pleasure, because there's a whole other realm that until you get into the anatomy of pleasure, like the nerve endings, which is something I work with my clients on, like what's the anatomy of pleasure for a male body, for a female body, until you really understand that, which I know here in the US, we weren't taught that.
Right.
You weren't taught. Don't touch that.
Right.
Like, oh, please. Oh, please do. Oh, please do.
Seriously.
If you're a menopausal, premenopausal woman, please do touch that for yourself, because that will help. Trust me. Anyway, we'll just stop. I'm going to go, blah, blah, I'm getting all tangential and mixed up in my own words, because I just love this topic so much that once we demystify and de-shame all of that, and understand that it's a thing to just rest into, and pleasure is looking at something beautiful
and I
with
think
intention.
We are taught, especially like the religion and just how the way of old, like that carries on from generation to generation. Like everything is just like, oh my God, like I made so whenever I go visit my sister, I always try to just take a gift of some kind, like usually try to make her something or something, just to lift her spirits, because we don't get to hang out as much as we used to. And so I made her and my nephew's girlfriend some yoni oil, and I named it, I can't remember, but I wrote like I put pussy oil on it. And she was just like, she wrote the real word on there, she didn't put yoni. And I'm just like, are you scared to read it? Like, seriously, you're 5 years older than me. Get over it.
Get over it. Well, you got to think about it. Okay, even the languaging of what we call it, right? In allopathic medicine and everything over here, vagina, it means like the sheath for like the holder. Okay. So they totally like its whole purpose is just to hold the shaft. But yoni is the womb of creation. So it's like, ooh, so I like the word yoni better, but I think it's great to like, I hate the word vagina. I'd much rather call it a yoni or a pussy. Like, I think it's that whole thing is like these medical men decided to name my pleasure space, our space of creation, our space of power, our space of the holder.
Yeah, and I feel like the rebel in me would rather call it anything other than vagina.
Yeah. I even went toe to toe with my granddaughter's pediatrician, who was like, we would like you to teach her correct names. I'm like, no, not pet names like yoni. I'm like, yoni is actually not a pet name. Yoni is the Sanskrit term for, and I like gave it to the pediatrician, and I said, and she also knows it's a vagina, but you're not going to like, even you, woman, like, you're not gonna tell this little girl that her space here is just a sheath to hold something for a man.
Right. Wow.
That's not happening. Like,
oh man, I wish I could have been in their room and seen that doctor's face.
they're like, we're glad you have her. Yeah. I gave all my fucks left. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Like I'm over it. I'm over being the person that has held my tongue and not said what's right and true. And
right.
And
that has been, and it's like I crossed that 40 line, and then I started I hooked up with a childhood friend and started rapping, and it's like more and more, it's like my throat chakra just opened up. And then I start podcasting, and then it's like, next thing you know, I'm just like, anytime I feel like I got something to say, I'm hitting the live button. Like, I know sometimes people would be like, I wish she shut up.
You know, some people need that Kali Ma kind of love. You know what I mean? Like, it's the kind of love that's like, you know what? I see you. I hear you're being an asshole. So go put your nose in the corner and check yourself.
Right.
Like, love you? Come back later. I'm going to love you from over here.
Like, because
Arm's
at this
length.
point,
Like,
you're
go-
screaming at me through your wounds, and I'm not your enemy. So, like, you just go heal, come back, talk to me later.
Right. And I even when I had a guy make a personal attack about the way I looked, said something about I was hideous looking or something. And I just said, and it was the very first comment on like one of my first like big, like, Got Brave videos. It was the very first comment. What was really funny though, is I kept getting a notification I had a comment, but the algorithm had filtered it out as not relevant and hidden it. So I had to go actually, which I should have made another post about, because that's fucking hilarious in and of itself. But this guy makes this. So all I said to him was like, thanks, bro, for just breaking me in right from the get-go. Like, but my female friends they were fucking savage. They went and got pictures of his kids off of his page talking about ugly and look at they were so savage to him, and I just would go chuckle. You know, like,
I had a guy come in my inbox and was like, damn, 6 kids? I know that shit blowed out the water. And I'm just like, you do realize that's exactly what my body is designed to do, right? And FYI,
designed to do this.
It's still tight and self-lubricating. So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Come again.
I'm just what an idiot. Seriously.
I think any powerful woman that like is sort of like radiating any sort of some charge that makes them go in any sort of way. And when I say they, I mean any human. They is human.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that the audacity.
Right.
The audacity.
It is.
To speak your mind and, stand up for your pleasure, what you believe in, for other humans, for the rights of people, for the rights of women and children, for whatever your thing is, any female-bodied individual that it has the audacity to speak up. They're just people that it doesn't matter what we say.
Right.
We just said something.
And it's like, how dare you be so confident in your words?
Right. Like, how dare you?
Oh my goodness.
Okay, well, whatever. How dare I? Let me dare again.
Seriously, but I want to talk about tantra. Like, break that down a little bit more. I've never intentionally practiced it, but I've had like tantric experiences. Right.
So there's a couple of different, so I want to quantify, or like, there's a couple of different tantras out there, right? So there's what we know in the West, they call tantra, which is the sacred sexuality, the tantric massage, the, sometimes they're the cuddle parties, the more sexual based and sensual or sexual intimacy based work. And so that would be more what we would from the spiritual side call the neo tantra. So, and then there's classical tantra, which they have dualistic and non-dualistic, and I'm a non-dual classical tantric practitioner that's been initiated into what would they call the left path, so the transgressive paths that do have some sexual sadhana pieces to them. So this is where the lines get sort of like, right? And the West went, ooh, sexy stuff. Let's just take that. Right? Because of our shame-based, right? So then it becomes an instant fix. And so while there's a place and a time for all of that as well, I believe that for me, what has worked is actually not, I believe, more in my experience, what has brought more depth to my intimate life, which is physical and otherwise emotional, which is part of our pleasure experience, because intimacy is kind of required when you're talking about having emotional pleasure, physical pleasure, and pleasure in life, right?
Mhm.
Because when we're intimate with life as it is, then we really can experience pleasure from a whole different way. And so my first line is of working in the tantric realm is introducing people to the idea that, one, you're not fucking broken. Please stop trying to fix yourself.
Yes. Yes.
There's nothing wrong with you, and the shadow isn't your fucking enemy, because the shadow is everything we're doing that we're not consciously doing. So if you're responding, reacting, and you don't consciously know why you're reacting or responding that way, that's shadow. So what we do is we shine some awareness of consciousness on it. We look at it, we go, oh, why do I respond this way? When they say this, why do I get my hackles all in a hunch? Like, you know, why am I panties in a wad over this? You know, like, and looking at that, and then it's no longer shadow. And then we integrate it, we digest it, and we figure out and we move on, right? Into something new, more open, more expansive. So in Tantra, the way I practice it in the classical sense, we have pulsation, spanda, divine pulsation. It's constant. Oh, contract, expand, right? This constant flow, the heartbeat of life, like this. We're open, we're closing, we're open, we're closing. And so fear, guilt, shame, contraction. I'm contracted. Right? Pleasure, acceptance, love. I'm expanding. I'm open. I'm letting it come in. And so in the tantric path that I teach from initially, the first thing that I have people practice is something that we call worshiping the sense goddesses. And each day you choose one sense and you worship it. So you might choose your taste one day, and you're going to take 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes and pick something you love the taste of. And you're going to sit with that and you're going to devour it slowly, lusciously, little tiny bites at a time, hit all, you know, and it becomes this practice of being in sensual awareness without the story. And so this is kind of a baseline where I start with people that are really kind of disconnected, right, from what it even means to be a sensual being, because they immediately go to, well, that's sex. No, sensual being does not mean sexual being. Yes, both, you know, we are of the senses. So first we have to teach people that, and then, or choose a song, or choose a fragrance, or in each day. And we do this practice so that we become more ingrained in being with the pleasure that we experience from that sense, right? Because you choose something you're going to enjoy. You don't eat something you hate, smell something that's disgusting. Now, there is another line of practice that you do that as well, right? Because all of it's divine. But when we're learning to be with pleasure, we choose things that are enjoyable. We look at something that we find beautiful and gaze at it for a long time until we are overcome with I'm sure you felt it, that overwhelming, that tactile experience of joy or pleasure by looking at something, the welling of the tears at a song, or, you know, at a movie, or a poem, the way music makes your body move when you stop performing, right? And you just let it move you, and all of these little things. And then we begin to tie that into, you know, our pleasure with others, right? But if you can't experience pleasure in your own body on your own first, how do you take it in to introduce other people into your world?
Exactly.
Right? So for me, it's always just kind of been baseline that, you know, we do things for ourselves, and I think as women that we maybe don't even realize. For me, I do this thing all the time where I would do this to myself. And this was self-soothing, and it's also polyvagal, right? You think about it now as we learn with the nervous system, and I would do this. And this is one of those things that it was, as a little girl for me, was soothing and pleasurable. And I would find myself in times of stress, unconsciously, like just stroking my décolleté, you know, like some people rock. So
Mm-hmm.
even these things, when we start to notice like, oh, this is actually something I do to bring calm and pleasure into my nervous system, into my body. And so then we go into pleasure mapping and body mapping and feeling into the little spaces. And what does it feel like with nails? What do you feel like when you tickle? What does it feel like with a feather? What does it feel like with cold, with heat, and you just move through these different experiences of pleasure tactily and visually and with the hearing, more and more moving away from the story of what it's supposed to be.
All right. Oh, those
Right?
stories. Whew.
Ooh,
Oh my goodness. I tell you, it's so hard having conversations sometimes with people because it's just like, who told you that?
right.
This is- just like in regular conversation, I just want to stop and be like, who told you that? Because, like, no. Because a lot
Yeah.
of people, they're so attached to the stories that they feel like it's supposed to be everybody's story. Like, how dare you, like, not want to do this, and this is what we were taught that we're supposed to do. And it's like, yeah, no, you could have that.
We all think we forget we're looking at the world through our own shade of glasses, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm having an Amba colored experience. Whatever.
Yeah.
You're having a tea colored experience, right? Like it's coming from you. But in the end, like I think when we get to this place where we understand that this is just this experience is shared dance, a divine dance of consciousness, that she's creating for her own delight. Like she wants to be you so much, she had to become you, right? Dance and be you. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned the sexuality versus sensuality because I've been wanting to get to that and it never came up in any of my other conversations. I'm like, I gotta squeeze that in somewhere. So I'm definitely glad you hit on that because I feel like not enough people realize the difference, especially women. And I'm finding more and more, especially since I started this series, that there's a lot of grown women who are like so uncomfortable with these conversations.
Right. Yeah. Well, you think about the older we were, so the boomers, the Gen X, the early millennials, there was still that sort of, even that 60s sexual liberation like didn't really carry through initially, right? There had to be sort of this change and resurgence of things. And I mean, the young kids now, like it's like nothing to be doing, having, and I'm like, whatever, like to me, and I don't shame it. I don't shame anybody in their sexual journey and their experience. I have one child that's very open and free, and I have one that is like, this world is monogamy. Like, do you boo? And the other one's bisexual and all this, and and it's totally like, oh, do you boo? Like if we're not hurting anyone and it's consensual, adult and communicated and everybody's on the same page and we're respecting our partner or partners. I mean, that's really, my thing is all about just respect each other, but I think that when we were older, we were just so taught that we were born from sin and shame.
Right.
And they were still telling little boys if they touched themselves, they'd go blind.
Oh my gosh. I have heard that.
Like, what the fuck? I'm sorry, I'm female body, but I was just saying this. My little grandson, he's going to be almost 3, and he's at that age. He's like wiggling and changing. He's like, woo! We're like, what? And I'm like, I would. I mean, if I was just discovering I had something hanging off the front of me that could move on its own, I'd be like, woo!
Especially every chance I get out of something that's restricting it, like just enjoying that airflow for a minute.
Right. But I've always been that mom. Like my kids were allowed to run around naked. If we were outside, you're allowed to. We had farm family people around, so we had acreages. I'm like, pee in the grass. I don't care. Like we weren't in the middle of not in the front yard in our home in the city, but if we were at grandma's farm, we would, you'd go pee over there in the dirt. It doesn't matter. And run around naked in the rain. Yes, absolutely. You're in a safe space and not in the middle of the city. No one can see you. Absolutely feel the rain on your butt. So I started de-shaming that stuff right away, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when my kids were little, because I just, you know, I went through all of it, even the disordered eating and all of the stuff from the body shame and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all the stuff that women, and not just women now. I mean, it's, you know, we can all absorb any level of it, regardless of who we
Right.
are. But, and I want to acknowledge that, but at the same time, you know, we seem to face as female bodied this heavier pressure to look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the porn industry gives this image that we should be a certain way in bed, which is all fake. Like none of that is even
Right.
like, it's like, come on, it's just humorous to me. Anyway,
Right. It really is.
yeah, right. For whom and when, right? Like, do you if you're into it, and you know, respect your partners. That's why I say respect your partners.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I feel like it's beautiful to see that there's a little bit more freedom. But yes, the women my age are still very much like, you want to talk about what? And I'm like, how's your sex? You know, how's your pleasure life? And I still have female friends who are like, well, I've never even owned a vibrator. I'm like, oh, what? We're going to brunch, and brunch involves, you know, brunch and then, you know, trip to the toy store, you know, usually kind of thing. You know, it's like, yeah, we need to give our sisters, you know, permission.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be brave enough to feel pleasure. And
Yeah,
to trust
because I'm like,
they deserve it.
me personally, I don't really have. I've never really had a lot of friends, and even now, one of my closest female friends, she's like 2 states away, and I only met her like 4 years ago, and she's one of those, like, we can pretty much talk about any and everything. So I've never been able to like experience that, like that whole girlfriend thing, because like I said, you know, I've always had my sister, but she's still very much in that conditioning, the shame, because growing up, there was no sex talks. There was like, the most sex talk you got was being shamed for something that remotely looked like sex or sexual.
I think my mom said, you're gonna bleed every month. There's the products, you know, like.
And even that, like,
protection.
some of the bullshit that we were told about our periods was just all wrong. And I'm just like, and a lot of what I learned around sex, about being a woman, came from my sister, because she's 5 years older than me, but she was so misinformed and deeply conditioned. Like, it wasn't really a whole lot of help. People think it's funny when I say I feel like I didn't become an adult until I got 40, because I feel like, you know, like literally just a few years ago, like when my 40th birthday was approaching, I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be a grown-up. That is what it felt like. Yeah. And it's like all of the deconstructing and deconditioning that I've had to go through, most of it has happened like in the last 4 years. Because when I moved here to Chattanooga 17 years ago, I grew up Baptist. I moved here, and me and my son, my sister, my nephews, we joined the Latter-day Saint Church. So that's like a whole different organization when it comes to religion. And so then one day, I don't know, I just like snapped out of it, and I'm just like starting to see everything for what it is. And I'm just like, yeah, the whole religious container just got real stuffy, and I'm like, nope, I need out of this box. I don't fit here.
Yeah, mine was when I found recovery from addiction, when I was because I started in 12-step recovery, but this whole idea of a God as you understand God. And I think I had like always kind of butted up against that whole patriarchal, women are less than. It really always, I think, past life stuff, it always just really like bristled me from the get-go. I was just always like, how can you say we're less than when we are the vessel?
Right.
Like, how does a man create all
this bullshit, like, about being created from man's rib, and it's like
Right. And so they kind of gave me permission to go and explore some things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't looking to change like my beliefs or my faith, but what happened was I just started doing yoga, and yoga led me to a place of peace that ignited a fire, which they call Shaktipata, for the truth, like to
Mm-hmm.
understand truth, like what is the nature of reality. And that has turned out to not be what I thought it was.
Right.
Thank God. Yes. And all that
Yeah.
is, right? No matter what you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing about non-duality, like true classical tantric non-duality, within it is duality, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to like fight for it or be like try and prove that it's what it is,
Right.
because within it is all of the other experiences
Mm-hmm.
that people are having, right? So you can do you, and I don't need to worry about
Exactly. And that's
like
like the beautiful thing about truth. Like truth is truth, no matter who believes it. There's no reason to fight about it.
right,
Like,
right.
do you?
Do you? Do you? I think for me, the hardest part of non-dual reality is when you finally realize that even the really gross things in life, the really ugly parts of humanity, the really disgusting, deplorable things are also divine,
Yeah.
are also an expression of God, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that for people is hard to swallow.
It is. I've
Mhm,
pissed a lot of people off by saying that.
mhm. Right. But for me, that's part of, I mean, the journey of awareness for me is that radical accountability of,
Mm-hmm.
even though maybe I didn't deserve the things that some of those things that happened to this body, I also participated in the occurrence of them,
Mm-hmm.
right? By putting myself in places with things on substances that put me in states that made me vulnerable and da 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 da. So it's all divine, and that's why I tell my clients, like, nothing is wasted. When you get to where you understand it, nothing that you've experienced is wasted. It is all part of the divine dance. It is what consciousness wanted to experience through your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so what can you do with that, right? What can we do with that? And for me, it was digest all of it and understand that emotion is just energy in motion, and feeling it means it doesn't get stuck or have to be regurgitated later, and it allows us to move into places of deep contentment even after really hard things, grief and pain and suffering, but they pass quicker, right? You get
Mm-hmm.
to experience it and be with what is in reality when we're not trying to dictate, manage, and control it in
Right.
ways. I'm not saying we don't make choices, right? That we just sit back and passively let life happen. That's not what I'm saying. But we really, I think the understanding of, whatever way we do respond is exactly how we were supposed to, because if it could have happened any other way, it fucking would have. If it
Right.
should have happened any other way, it fucking would have.
Exactly.
We can't go back and change it. So
And even that is
that's been
frustrating
huge for me.
sometimes, but just being able to say, like, okay, this is fucked up. I don't prefer to
Hmm.
be here, but this is where I'm
Hmm.
at. What's next?
What's next? And how do I move through this from a
Mm-hmm.
place of response and not reaction?
Right.
How do I get myself into wise mind so I can make the right active choices instead of riding the Ferris wheel of the
Mm-hmm.
emotions around the outside, reacting? And I mean, that's what spiritual practice does for us. That's what even pleasurist practice does for us, right? Because we can pause in it and be like, ooh, this is not pleasurable. This feels really contracting and icky. And so how do I set into it and let awareness and expansion come a little bit wider, So that's kind of been part of the journey for me, is like, even when it's really icky and uncomfortable, what can I rest into? How can I sit back into it and allow myself to feel supported by practice, by nervous system regulation, by a good support system around me? We're not meant to do this alone, that doesn't necessarily mean, a romantic partner or,
Right.
who knows what it means for each of us. But I mean, for me, it's just really been, allowing life to instead of trying to force life to do, and that's part of that human design, right?
Mm-hmm.
the first, when you're a 2-5, like when you put it over to gene keys, like my first shadow is force, from strength to force. And so it's like, yeah, okay. So understanding the difference between being strong and being forceful.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a strength in softness and compassion and empathy. And I think sometimes when we give that to ourselves, we allow ourselves to experience more pleasure in the reality of life. Even when it is restricted and contracted, you'll get the brief, in the hard times, there's even moments each day that are pleasurable,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even if it's 5 minutes in the middle of a shit day, like, but we miss them. But we miss them because we're so focused on responding and reacting to the shit. So when we can settle in, then you can actually find those little brief moments.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, so many. I feel like there's like so many different things we could talk about.
Maybe we'll do more episodes.
We definitely got to do more episodes. I definitely got to have you back for season 3. Because I'm just like, that's like a whole episode in itself, and then like that's a whole episode in itself.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
But yes, this has been an amazing conversation just all around, and I thank you so much for being here with us today.
It's been my pleasure. I've really enjoyed talking with you. I hope that I would like, yeah, you're my people.
For sure.
We're on this mission, you know what I mean? It's such a joy. I live in a part of the country, there's not a lot of, I'm kind of a solo, so it's nice to get in a conversation with,
it is.
Someone that,
because like I said, I don't really have like female friends because I can't really find anybody to relate to. Like I start talking about all the shit I'm talking about with you, and they're gonna be looking at me like, you should, I swear, my sister be like,
what the fuck are you talking about?
She be like, what? But what is, and like, what about? And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I know I get on her nerves so bad because I just be like, yep, and she don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's like, I get a lot of that too. So it's nice to vibe with people that are we're just on the same, we're at that same spot of feeling into the world and wanting to give something in a way that, helps women like us that are still there where we were, kind of stuck out of pleasure and in the grind, not the pleasure grind, just the grind, and bring them along with us. So it's nice to know that there's a lot of us out here trying to do the work.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say is the biggest lie we've been told about pleasure?
That you have to earn it. Like that you have to strive for it, that it's a reward for doing good and completing some task and performing some duty. Like, what the no. No, I mean, our whole system is set up on performance, right? Including like, and I'm really like anti, performative wellness and, Instagram embodiment.
Right.
Like that stuff fringes me the fuck out. I'm like, that is like true embodiment means when day is shit, you're like enjoying that shit sandwich that like is hand in hand, truly embodied in the moment. Like, it's not always dancing around and like this
right.
Yes, this is part of it, but this is not the only piece of embodiment, and I think that, that's the biggest lie is that we've been told is that you have to perform something in order to earn the ability to experience pleasure in your life. Like you have to earn it. It has to be paid for, bought, and earned. First of all, it never should have to be paid for. There can be things that we really enjoy and we find pleasurable. If you want to spend money on that, go for it. I'm not judging, do that. But you shouldn't have to buy something to find pleasure in life, right? Because that's just feeding right into the story of you need to earn this. So I encourage people find something pleasurable that doesn't cost you anything. So or if it's it's in the stuff that we already are doing, like you have to buy food to nourish your body. So nourish it at least one day a week in a way that is savoring every bite of your meal, nice. And not thinking we have to fight for it. And there are little ways. Pleasure can be a bubble bath. It
Mm-hmm.
can be your favorite fragrance. Like, we have to, I think, demystify that it has to be something big. It can be the brush of someone's hand, just telling you it's okay to be you right now,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yes, beautiful. Well, before we wrap up, what is one thing that you hope listeners remember or get out of this episode?
I hope that it inspires someone to really look at and question the stories they're telling themselves about what pleasure means in their life. And if that story is that they have to work for it, or that it's shameful to desire, that they take a step back, because desiring is actually the essence of existence. Because if consciousness didn't desire to be, nothing would exist,
I love
right?
that.
So everything we do begins with desire. So why do we shame our desire when it is related to our pleasure? So, I mean, I hope they step away and going, oh, okay, like, oh, desire inspires all of it. It inspires what we like to eat, what kind of movies we like to watch, what kind of people we like to date, or be in relationships with. And I think we just need to de-shame the idea that physical pleasure is different when desire is for physical pleasure. Like, there's nothing shameful about that, any different than desiring a peanut butter and jelly sandwich right now, because it would be pleasurable to eat a peanut. See what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it's no different. Right. So why is, and so that's kind of my hope, is that people can take a moment to give themselves some grace and be like, fuck yeah, I'm going to desire this and I'm going to enjoy it. Like, let me enjoy something one time a week. If you can't, give yourself 5 minutes, if that's all you're willing to give yourself, is really like pause and enjoy something with intention. Let yourself really feel it, so you remember what it feels like to really.
I know I found myself one day I was just like, I was feeling just kind of like, oh, I'm tense, I'm short tempered, and I'm just like, I'm gonna walk it out. I'm gonna walk it out. And so I walked out the house, I walked to the store, and I bought a Magnum popsicle, which I think those are like the best popsicles in the world. And it was like salted caramel or something like that.
Ooh, yum.
And I sat at the park and ate that popsicle, and I was just like, yep. That was like the best 15 minutes of that day. But
yes,
I was like, yeah,
right?
I got this.
Yes. So eat that popsicle.
Yes.
Right? Mine's
Absolutely.
Mine's Ferrero Rocher chocolates, the hazelnut chocolate.
Yes.
I will. Yep.
I love it. I love it.
Simple pleasures.
Yeah,
can be
simple
really
pleasures.
Profound. They can change our whole perspective, if not just for the day, at least for a moment.
Right, and just take a moment to just enjoy the bite, the crunch, the creamy, whatever it is. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Before I let you get out of here, tell everyone where they can connect with you, and where they can learn more about your work or anything you have coming up that you want to share.
Sure. So my website is rebelyogini.love/inhabit if they want to check out what I have going on. My next cohort for the Circle, which is an 8-week women's tantric goddess embodiment program, somatic embodiment program. The fall cohort opens on the new moon in September. And so there's information out there on that. As well as I've got Patreon, Inhabit Embodiment, which I do some live classes on. Once I come back from vacation, I'll be doing some live little embodiment work. I do 3 or 4 classes a week on there. I've got the socials, Inhabit Embodiment on Facebook, on Insta, and also just Amba Jai on Facebook. If you just want to follow me personally, that I can really share more there. It's just easier there than getting all mixed up in the, because I'm just doing me. I'm just like out here living and sharing, what I'm doing, as I go.
Yeah,
But I love to connect, and I really love to connect. Really, it's about the relationships with people, and so no matter how I work with people, I always love to just start with what we're kind of doing now, just shorter, just like maybe not a recorded interview, but like just a touch point. Like, hey, how are you? What do you got going on? What are you looking for? And see if it's sort of a vibe or a fit. But I've got some stuff out there they can check. I do have a book on Amazon called Sacred Rebellion, the Living Prayer of Unbecoming. It's just a little easy, kind of some somatic drop-ins to unbecome, like stories like the story of the good girl and why she's a lie. Yeah, so I've got a little book out there if they want to kind of see how I work, and it's got some little practices and stuff in it. It's just a fun little thing. I think it's on Unlimited, on Kindle Unlimited for nothing. So it's just a little thing I threw out there last year. Was playing to see if I could get myself. I was like, let's test and see if I could do this. Let's see what happens. I actually pushed the button on this thing, and that was all I needed to do. I didn't really care if anybody ever bought it, honestly.
Right.
It's the work that I do, and it's how the things that are in there are the practice. Some of them are the practices that I use for myself, have used along my own. Everything that I do is stuff that I use for myself and maintaining my own, aliveness in this world that,
And I'll add all those links to the show notes as well.
Beautiful. Well, I would love to come back and talk again. Give me the talk. Well, I got some good shit to say. we can keep going.
Yeah, when you sent me the voicemail, I was like, just the excitement in your voice. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for being here. Amba Jai, everybody. I think one of the biggest takeaways from today's conversation is that bullshit story many of us were sold, that pleasure was something we had to earn. Finish your work, take care of everyone else, be productive, be responsible, be good. And then maybe you've earned the right to enjoy yourself. But what if that's one of the biggest lies we've ever believed? Pleasure was never meant to be the reward at the end of the day. It's one of the ways we experience being fully alive throughout it. Pleasure doesn't always have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to cost money. It doesn't have to involve another person. Sometimes it's your favorite song with the windows down, a hot shower after a long day, a walk outside, a really good cup of coffee, dancing in your kitchen, laughing until your stomach hurts, taking a deep breath and realizing, I'm here. Maybe it's your favorite popsicle or their favorite piece of chocolate. And yes, sometimes pleasure is sexual, but sexuality and sensuality aren't the same thing. We are sensual beings. We experience life through touch, taste, smell, sound, sight, movement, and connection. The more connected we become to ourselves, the more available we become, not just for pleasure, but for intimacy, presence, and genuine connection with other people that we love. So maybe this week, we're not asking, what have I done to deserve pleasure? We're asking, where is pleasure already waiting for me? And to everyone listening today, thank you for spending this time with us. If today's conversation resonated with you, don't forget to follow the show and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Until next time, keep coming home to yourself. And remember, my love, you are an unstoppable badass, worthy of everything your heart desires. Let's get it.
You're listening to Amba Jai on the Badass Broadcast.
Hey, Love Bug, if today's episode gave you something to think about, make sure you're following the Badass Broadcast with Lady T and share it with somebody who could use a little dose of badassery in their life. And if you're ready to go deeper in your own healing journey, you can book a free Badass Breakthrough session with me, and let's talk about where you are, where you want to be, and how I may be able to support you in getting there. Calling all wild women, deep fillers, light workers, and spiritual badasses, come join me inside the sisterhood of Sacred Wildfire Queen Circle. Want to help keep the conversation going and pour a little love back into the show? Support the Badass Broadcast through buymeacoffee.com/the Queen Lady Tea. You'll find all this and more in the show notes, or head over to sacredwildfire.com to connect with me and explore everything I have to offer. Thank you so much for rocking with me. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Badass Broadcast.